Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tēnei e tāpiri atu ake mihi kia koutou I uru mai nei I roto I tēnei whare no reira Ngati Haua ko koe tērā te tumuaki Ngati Koroki Kahukura tēnei te mihi aroha kia koutou katoa. Mr. Speaker, we haven't got much time. We're reading two bills in conjunction. I don't want to mince my words and I want to give those that have come to hear the first reading of these bills the assurance that we want to give it full attention at the Select Committee but pass it fairly quickly so that you can get on with doing what you need to do. Mr. Speaker, I firstly want to make a few points with regards to the Ngati Haua settlement. The interests represented within the settlement are extant to those agreements that were reached under the 1995 Waikato Raupatu claim, and it's important to mention that for people who aren't familiar with the history in the Waikato region so that you're aware these are legitimate, important claims that were not covered within the boundaries of the confiscation settlement that was reached earlier in 1995. Secondly, for Ngati Haua, I think there are two particular aspects that relate to the history that Minister Sharples was talking about that would be of significant interest to members of Parliament. Firstly, the Tumuaki tanga and the accord to recognise Weremu Tamihana and his descendants and the role that they play in relation to the kingitanga movement and the importance of an enduring relationship. So within the context of this bill, it's important that the nature of that relationship, that Crown iwi relationship with Haua, is embodied within the context of the Tumuaki Accord. Secondly, of particular interest to the House will be Te Whanganui within Ngati Haua, and as members will recall, when Mahuta came down and sat in this Parliament, and we've celebrated some 100 years since that time, there is a Māori Parliament within the area of Ngati Haua with which they have done up the building. It is an important historical feature within the area, and I know Member Lindsay Tish will be familiar with that. That has a lot of historical records and artefacts that are significant to the history of New Zealand. And again, there have been aspects of this settlement which seek to make and ensure that its contribution can be a rich part of New Zealand's history. And extending the accords or the relationship of Haua to the Waikato River to that particular part of the catchment becomes significant. There are major waterways running into that area. We've just had the local body elections. There have been two newly created Māori seats. People want to ensure that there's going to be some greater contribution of certainly iwi hapu interests with regards to catchment management, resource management within the area, and I am sure that the pillars of the Haua settlement and its intent will seek to make that real. The other aspects on the redress the Minister spoke about, I can only say will ensure that Haua are able to do things that will help their children thrive and prosper, that will continue to unite and strengthen the hapu within the Haua area and the marae that are very active, but more importantly ensure that there is going to be growth and opportunity in a part of the country that is very rich and fertile and is a gateway, if you like, through the Waikato region to Tauranga and also to Taupo to Rotorua. So I certainly applaud those who have negotiated the settlement. This is just the first reading. It will go to Select Committee, we'll peer over it, we'll bring it back for the third reading and we'll get it back to you as soon as we can. For Ngati Koroki Kahukura, and the next thing I'd like to say is that there is an important relationship between Koroki Kahukura and Haua. Again, that is somewhat linked through the geography and the adjacent relationship of the areas, but also whakapapa and enduring into contemporary relationships of this time. Again, the interest in this particular claim becomes significant for the Select Committee today because we're also hearing the Raukawa settlement claim. I want to draw the attention of the House to the nature of Koroki Kahukura's relationship with both Waikato and Raukawa, and to put a point on the expectations of how that relationship relates to a claim we're currently, or a bill we're currently hearing in the Select Committee. A letter was written like a relationship accord between the Raukawa Trust Board and Ngati Koroki Kahukura Trust on the 8th of May. And if it pleases the House, I'm happy to table it if a member should wish to see that for their own interests. But there are 3 paragraphs which I would like to single out and read for the Hansard record so that when we're considering the Raukawa Settlement Bill and the interests of Ngati Koroki Kahukura and their settlement, we need to be assured through the Select Committee process that there is no impinging of one another's interests, because the clarity that has been reached between the two iwi is nicely set out in the letter. Mr. Speaker, it reads as follows. Paragraph 3 says, as a part of our undertakings to each other, Ngati Koroki Kahukura acknowledges that the Raukawa Rohe includes the Maunga Tautari Rohe and extends to te tiki o te Ihingarangi and te taurapa o te Ihingarangi. For its part, the Raukawa Trust Board acknowledges that from a Raukawa perspective, the mana whenua, mana whakahaere and kaitiaki within the Maunga Tautari Rohe is held predominantly by Ngati Koroki Kahukura. They go on to say, for the purposes of this letter, the Raukawa Trust Board acknowledges the specific dominant mana whenua ahika, mana whakahaere and kaitiakitanga of Ngati Koroki Kahukura in the following resources. A, the Waikato River, and then there's a description of that. B, Pukekura, Horohora and Maunga Tautari land blocks, excluding titles west of Maunga Tautari and specifically excluding Pārāwera, Marae and surrounding area. And C, Maunga Tautari Maunga. Mr. Speaker, throughout the letter, culminating in paragraph 11, Ngati Koroki Kahukura Trust and the Raukawa Trust Board agree that Ngati Koroki Kahukura descendants will be unable to access Treaty of Waitangi financial or commercial redress benefits from the wider Raukawa Treaty settlement, unless this is through another Raukawa whakapapa. To reinforce this, the Ngati Koroki Kahukura Trust agrees that it will indemnify the Raukawa Trust Board against any claims that Ngati Koroki Kahukura descendants may have against the Raukawa Trust Board with respect to any settlements achieved through the Ngati Koroki Kahukura Trust. So I've read that out for members so that we understand that within the context of the Raukawa settlement that is being heard by the Select Committee, we committee members have to assure themselves that there is no crossing over of interest, that the boundaries are very clear, because what has been reached in the Kahukura Koroki settlement is very clear. And if there is any shadow of a doubt that it's impinged upon by another settlement, then we've got a level of concern. I wouldn't say it's substantial, but an area where greater clarity might need to be given within the context of a related settlement. Mr. Speaker, as I said, I won't dabble my words. I think that we should be considering this with the fullness of interest that it deserves, but get on with it. Get them through the House and return them to Koroki Kahukura and Ngāti Haua so they can do what they need to do for their people. Kia ora.
The Honourable Christopher Finlayson.
Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by thanking both iwi for agreeing to the bill's proceedings.